Derik Queen goes off against Rutgers.
You are Locked On Terps, your daily podcast on the Maryland Terps, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What's up, everyone? I'm Tre Moore, host of Locked On Terps, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. So thank you for making us part of your day. And today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new FanDuel customers can get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. I'm also doing work at InsideBlackandGold.net, so make sure you guys head over to InsideBlackandGold.net for all your latest Terps news. Maryland basketball gets a big win against Rutgers to keep themselves in the top 25. But I want to, on the first segment, focus on the performance of Derik Queen. Derik Queen went absolutely crazy against Rutgers. Had a really good game in a game that features maybe two of the top three picks in the NBA draft. I don't think that's a hot take. I think Dylan Harper and Ace Bailey are going to be two of the three top picks in a game that featured three guys that are McDonald's All-Americans, three guys that are really talented. Of course, Rutgers having those two really good freshmen, and then Maryland having Derik Queen. Derik Queen was the guy that looked like the best one on the floor against Rutgers, and I think that's really awesome to be able to see as a Maryland fan. I've been talking about it all year. I think a lot of the national media focuses on those two guys at Rutgers, and rightfully so. They're both really good players. They're both going to be, I think, going to be really good NBA players. Like, I think Dylan Harper is to a T what NBA teams want nowadays. A guard that's 6'6", that can do everything on the floor. You can run pick and roll with just about every time down the floor, and you're going to get a good look with him. And then Ace Bailey reminds me a lot of those really talented forwards that you see in today's NBA. Like, he reminds me a lot, honestly, of KD, of like a Jason Tatum, of a guy that has, 6'9". The way that he moves, the way that he can score the ball, the way he can shoot over people is really awesome. But the fact that all the hype has been going to those two when you talk about freshmen in the Big Ten. All the hype has been about those two. And Derik Queen, I thought, last night, or last afternoon, I guess you would say, on Sunday, put up together a really good performance to prove that he is in that discussion, I think, for being the best freshman in the Big Ten. It's been a weird year. There's a lot of really good freshmen in the Big Ten, and I think Derik Queen has been as good as anybody. But his performance, I just wanted to say that I thought really kind of put himself in the conversation for maybe being Big Ten Freshman of the Year. I think it'll still probably go to one of the Rutgers guys. Dylan Harper was out for a while, but Ace Bailey was going off for a little bit. But at the end of the day, I think Derik Queen proved himself that, yeah, I'm an NBA guy. I'm really talented too, and that they get a lot of the noise. But I'm a really talented freshman as well. But more importantly, I thought Derik Queen had played arguably his best game of the season, his best game in a while. I don't think this has been the storyline of Maryland basketball because we've been winning games, but we've been a really balanced team, which I think is extremely important. And even the other night against Rutgers, there was a lot of balance. A lot of guys played well, and we'll get into everyone's performance. But something that's been underlining is sometimes Derik Queen has struggled, which is completely expected, which is completely fair. Your freshman All-American or freshman McDonald's All-American, that's supposed to be the next big thing, and has been one of the best Maryland freshmen in a long time, and maybe one of the best Maryland freshmen ever. When you really look at some of the things that he's doing, it's sometimes okay for him to struggle. But I think that because we were winning games and that guys were playing at a really high level, that we kind of didn't talk about it a ton. I said Derik Queen has to pick it up for us to be at our best. And I knew there was going to be a game where we were going to need him to go off. And I'm not going to lie, I don't know if this was the game that he needed to go off. Like, I think he went off. I don't think we absolutely needed it. Like, I think if he had 20 and a couple other guys picked up the production, I think we would have been completely fine. It's not like he was the only player that played well, but there are going to be games where things are just a little bit slower, where Selton Miguel doesn't shoot the ball as well. Rodney Rice doesn't shoot the ball as well. And we're going to need Derik Queen to put up 25 in 10. Some games, that's just the way it's going to be. And we know he has the ability to be able to do that. We know how good he is. And sometimes that's what we need. And I think it was pretty awesome because I saw that there was a ton of scouts, NBA scouts, there to watch. Of course, the 2 Rutgers freshmen, but Derik Queen as well. So I think there's a ton of scouts. That's a game that you would want to go to as a scout because you got 3 potential lottery picks. I know Harper and Bailey will be one. I don't know where Queen slides in, if he even declares. I'm guessing he would. But that's definitely another part of the game. But when you look at his stats and when you look at what he did, a huge performance. He played 33 minutes. He was efficient while doing it. 29 points. I want to round up. I wish he got 30. Saying 30 points is a lot. I feel like cooler. A lot kind of a bigger kind of it feels bigger than 29. It's only 1 point difference. But Derik Queen had 29 points, which I thought was pretty awesome. And he did it efficiently. 9 of 16 from the field. Didn't take a 3-point shot. 11 to 13 from the free throw line. And maybe the most impressive stat is 6 offensive rebounds for Derik Queen. A lot of those really help us, either him getting a putback or him just being able to get an offense rebound and letting us reset the offense. A lot of those are really important for the Terps. And then 15 rebounds overall. So a double too. And then maybe I said that the offensive rebounds were maybe the most cool thing, but 5 assists. He led our team in assists, even more than Gillespie last afternoon against Rutgers. 5 assists for Derik Queen is really a cool performance from him. And then something else that's really impressive is 1 turnover. We know that Derik Queen this year, my biggest knock has been he turns over the ball too much for a big. I've said that a lot this year, and I think it's a fair kind of thing to say about him. I feel like at times he just turns over the ball way more than he should for a big man. It's like it's one thing for a guard to have a lot of turnovers, but if your freshman big is having like 3-4 turnovers a game, like that's going to hurt us at the end of the day. You don't really want anyone to get that many turnovers, but there was games where he would have 5, he would have 4, even 3, and I felt like he's a little bit sloppy, but for him to limit himself to have 1 turnover that game while playing a lot of minutes and dropping 29 points and having 5 assists, shooting well from the free throw line, that's a really efficient game from Derik Queen, and it was really impressive. And we haven't been highlighting him as much because I really believe that overall we've been playing really well, and I think he started to slow down. I think at the start of the year in the big games, like against Marquette, like against Purdue, the Villanova game, he was the storyline. He was the thing. And now I think it's transitioned into, yeah, Derik Queen's really good, but Maryland basketball's got a really good team. They're a March Madness quality team. They're a top 25 quality team. I think that's kind of what the storyline has transitioned to, where before I think a lot of people weren't really sure because the last year in the storyline was more like Derik Queen's playing really well, but Maryland can't always finish it out, like against Marquette, like against Purdue, like some of those games earlier, where I think it transitioned into more of a team. And now we got a game where it was like Derik Queen's really good again. But if you look at some of his past performances, like he just hasn't been doing exactly like, it's not like he's been playing bad. It's just been more of a balanced game from Queen, like 13 points against Ohio State. Let's see what he did against Wisconsin. 12 points for Derik Queen against Wisconsin. Against Indiana, only 7 points in a game where we won by 1 point. And that's just the last couple games. I can probably keep on going and look at these, and he been playing not mediocre. It's just like he hasn't gone off. And then you look back to the start of the season, and it was kind of like Queen 22 against Villanova, against Purdue 26. Like, you know what I mean? He was really playing like by far best guy, where now it feels like it's transitioned 24 points against Marquette. And I feel like that's good. I feel like other guys have gotten going. I feel like we're more balanced as a team, which I think at the end of the day is going to benefit us. And when we get a Derik Queen performance, which we know he's more than capable of, it's really exciting stuff, and we're gonna have a really good shot at winning the game because the guys behind him are still really good. But I felt like he picked up the production that Julian Reese just didn't have, which is fine. It's hard to have five guys on at the same time, but Julian Reese just wasn't that good. 18 minutes, foul trouble, 0 for 2 from the free throw line, only 2 rebounds from him, 3 turnovers, only 4 points, only played 18 minutes. He wasn't that great. So Derik Queen actually picked up a lot of the slack that Julian Reese had while not playing well, which I thought was really important overall. So I think it was really cool to see a Derik Queen performance, and I feel like it's something I wanted to start today with because we haven't been talking about him as much because I feel like our team's more balanced. We're in the top 25. Like, things are good. We don't have to rely on one guy, which is really good, but we just can't forget we have a really good freshman that can drop 30 points. Really, I don't want to say when he wants, but on any given night, Derik Queen can drop 30. So I thought that was really impressive from the big man. Let's talk more about the win. Let's talk about kind of the overall outlook of the team. I want to get more into that and everything going on with Maryland basketball. I want to talk about that next. When the game tips off, the NBA action is just getting started, and there's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. Because with FanDuel, you can place live bets throughout the game. So even if you miss the opening tip or want to bet on a fourth quarter comeback, you can stay in on the action. And if you're looking for a bigger payout, you can even combine your live bets in the same game parlay. I think using FanDuel is great because you can live bet and because it keeps every moment of the game exciting. Whether you're backing your team or have a late game rally or picking a player to hit a clutch three, you never miss out on a chance for money. So plus the app is easy to use, and when you win, you get paid instantly. So right now, go to FanDuel. Customers get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. That's FanDuel.com for your shot at $150 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. All right, let's keep talking about the win overall for the Terps. I just want to say this. Despite the loss on, what was that, Thursday, I guess, I still feel really good about where we're at. We sold a game and we kind of felt like an old Maryland team, a beginning of the season Maryland team against Ohio State, but I still feel really good overall where the Terps were at. I didn't get to make a podcast after the Ohio State game. It was really frustrating. It was really annoying. But to be honest, sometimes that just happens in basketball. And I'd rather it happen now than later. We shouldn't have lost that game. We should have won that game. But things happen. You can't let Bruce Thornton go for 31 points. And I thought guys could have played better. I thought Gillespie didn't have a great game. I thought Celton Miguel didn't have a great game. But it kind of is what it is, and I've kind of moved past it. I didn't get a chance to address it, so I wanted to talk about it a little bit. But to me, I really want to focus on this last game. And I think the theme again for the Terps is balance. A really balanced game. Outside of Julian Reese, all starters had above 14 points, which I think is really awesome to be able to see. Julian Reese had a weird game, foul trouble, just didn't play that well, which is fine. That's going to happen. But obviously, I just talked about Derik Queen for a while, who had 29 points. But I want to talk about some of the other guys. Rodney Rice, man, he started to become a really consistent piece of what we do. He's shooting the ball really well as of late. He's a consistent like 18, 19, 20, 15 type of guy for us. And he's been a really good player for us in Big Ten play. And he's a big reason why we're ranked right now and we're in a pretty good spot in the Big Ten. He's a huge reason why. And he continues to impress. I think he continues to play at the most consistent level on our team. He hasn't had very many stinkers. And I just think he's been playing at a really good clip, having 19 points, really big points against a Rutgers team that we won by 9. We were in control for most of the game, a big part because we were up by 11 at the half. We only ended up winning the second half by 2, or we lost the second half by 2 points. Excuse me. But I thought Rodney Rice has been a consistent part of the team and has really put us in a really good spot. And I also want to talk about Celta Miguel. When he plays well, when he shoots the ball well, we're at a different level. We're better. We're just a really good team. Like, we're a borderline top 15 team, I would say, when Celta Miguel plays well. And that's what we saw against Rutgers. We saw Celta Miguel have a really good game. 34 minutes. He shot the 3 ball incredibly well. 5 for 8. He made 5 threes. Like, that's pretty big time. From Celta Miguel. The rest of the team combined for 5 threes. And when he plays well and when he can get things going, I'm telling you, we're at a different level while only having 1 turnover. Plus, shout out to Rodney Rice for having 0 turnovers, which I'm going to continue to talk about. I think turnovers are a really important part of the game. And I see some guys just have more turnovers a lot of the time than others. So I think Miguel had a really good game. And when he plays well, man, it's really scary for other teams, and we're a really tough team to beat. When he plays mediocre, which I feel like he's been most of the year, then we're a good team, but we're not great. But I feel like when Celta Miguel plays well, we're a great team. That's just the way it feels. It's a different energy. He brings a lot of energy. He gets really excited. I'm curious if you guys agree with me, so let me know down low in the comments. But to me, when Celta Miguel plays well, it's a different beast, this Maryland team. I think we're a borderline top 15, top 16 team this year when he plays well. And then Julian Reese didn't have a great game, 3 turnovers, but that's my thing. Last year, it was like if Jameer Young didn't play well, we weren't going to win. And this year, it's like, okay, Julian Reese, who's our returning senior, has been there, done that, has done a lot of good things for this basketball program. He kind of had a stinker, 3 turnovers while only playing 18 minutes, 4 points, and didn't play well. The fact that he can have a stinker and it's like, okay, Queen will make up for that production. Celta Miguel will make 5 threes. Rodney Rice will have nearly 20 points. That's really awesome to be able to see. And then the bench, it's not great. And it's still my biggest concern with this team. I know the starters are going to be good. I know we have, I think, one of the better starting units in the Big Ten. I think that our bench unit is near the bottom of the Big Ten. Deshaun played a lot of minutes, kind of just didn't do much. To me, the biggest problem is Deshaun going 0 for 3 from the free throw line. And I know he struggled with that, and I know that's something that we have to get better at, but that's a big reason why we only shot 64% from the free throw line. He's just not shooting. He just hasn't really figured out how to shoot the ball at effective level, and that's just where he is as a player. And 0 for 3 from the free throw line really hurts us overall. Hopefully he can get that confidence, but it just hasn't been there. And he's probably the guy that plays the most minutes off the bench. Malachi Palmer got some minutes, didn't shoot the ball well either. Jordan Geronimo was big because Kapari was out. He had a decent game, I thought. He did some good things, 2 blocks, 4 points. He was really our main bench production. But it's limited right now. Jay Young didn't do much. Like, the bench is limited right now. I'm struggling with it because I don't think it's great. And I don't see it getting much better. I think Kapari gives us something interesting. I think our best 2 guys off the bench consistently are probably Kapari and Geronimo. Geronimo was a starter last year. So I think that's something that we have to work on. But if the starters are going to be really good every night, which is probably not going to happen, but for most nights, then we're going to be all right. And I also thought we played Ace Bailey really well. He didn't have a good game, only 4 points. We didn't let him get going. And Dylan Harper, he had 20 points, but he took 17 shots to get that. That's like, to me, that's how you play Rutgers. You get one of the freshmen to kind of get off his game, which we did with Ace Bailey. And then with Harper, you can't let him go for an efficient 25. You got to make him go for he's going to get his. Some guys are just going to get theirs because they're really good players. But you gotta get him off his game a little bit. And he's going to get his, like he got 20 points still, but to me, he shot 7 to 17, like it took 17 points or 17 shots for him to get that. So that's kind of how I see things overall. But we're ranked 25th in the nation, so we're still ranked, which is pretty awesome. But I think Maryland overall is in a good spot for the basketball team. And like, yeah, we lost the game to Ohio State, but overall, I can't have too many complaints where we're at right now for the Terps. I want to talk a little bit about Zion Elle. Is he going to stay at Terp? I don't know. We'll talk about that next. So Maryland commit 5-star Zion Elle is kind of sussing me out. I'm concerned. It feels like every day goes by, it feels like he's going to decommit. And obviously, I don't want to think about that. I don't want to think about it negatively. But to be honest, I'm just real with you guys. I try not to lie with you. He's definitely exploring other options. I think there's no other way to say it. And I can't blame him. He's the number 2 prospect in the nation. It's unlikely for him at the first place to go to Maryland. I know he's ended up committing to Maryland, but that's just unlikely. That doesn't really happen. And he made a pretty early commitment to Maryland. And obviously, I think he's going to be a really good player, but he's set up a couple of visits where now I feel like it's like Maryland's got to have to do a lot to keep this kid. And he says that it's not about the money or things like that. Like he's going to get money no matter where he goes, which I think is somewhat true. Until like there's still a difference between like 1 million and someone else offering 4 million. Like, you know what I mean? Like that's still a difference. But look at right now, of course he's committed to Maryland, but he's going on visits to South Carolina, Texas A&M, Penn State, Auburn, and Ohio State. Like that's tough. It's definitely tough to think that he's going to go all those places and that he's planning to go all those places and they're going to offer him a lot of money. Some of those schools are really cool schools. Like Ohio State just won the national championship. Like that's going to be a really cool school for him to visit. While having 2 guys up front that are probably going to be first 3-round draft picks, and the JT, I don't want to really pronounce his last name, and then Jack Sawyer, who had that really big he hit that really big play in the national championship. I think it was a pick, I want to say, or a sack. Like I kind of forget exactly what it was, but they've had some really good edges. Where Maryland, I don't think we've had great edges, like going to a place like Ohio State or going to a place like Auburn. Like those are really cool atmospheres that offer a kid like Zion Elle a lot. To be fair, obviously we're a stay home, building up brand, like do something different. But for him to go on those visits and everything, like that's not going to be easy for us to keep him. Right now, I'm leaning towards he'll probably end up decommitting and going somewhere else. And I obviously don't want that to happen, but it's like, why else is he going on what is it, 5 official visits other than Maryland? Like to me, like that means he's really exploring other options. And I know today's day guys will go, but like he made a post like on the Hayes Fawcett Instagram. I know most of you guys probably know what that is, who keeps us up to date with all the latest recruiting, and like all the big time recruits go to him and say, make a graphic. So he had like go to Hayes Fawcett and say, make this graphic. Like I'm visiting these places. So I think it's interesting. I don't know exactly what will happen, but the fact he's going to Ohio State, Auburn, Penn State, Texas A&M, South Carolina, like that's tough for Maryland to keep a kid like that. But we knew it was going to be hard. He's the number 1 prospect in the nation for a reason. He's a difference maker, and he'd be Loxley's best recruit yet. We haven't had a guy like that who's been that talented. Even some of our other edge commits that are really good, like I think back to Chop Robinson, he wasn't quite like this. And I don't know if he's going to be as good of a college player or whatnot, but right now as a pure recruit, we haven't had a guy like that. So I think it's going to be interesting. Obviously, he's a freak and he has all the makeups to be a really good player, but you just don't know what can happen, and it's looking tough. We'll see exactly how it goes. I'm curious to know what you guys think, but right now I'm leaning towards there's a big possibility that Zion Elle decommits from Maryland. That's all we have for today. Thank you for listening to Locked on Terps. Make sure you like and subscribe. We're here every day talking Maryland football and basketball. So thank you guys for listening to Locked on Terps.